Hello there, and welcome to the tutorial that literally everyone on my channel has been asking for. When I say on my channel, I mean on TikTok. No one's been asking for it on my YouTube channel. But regardless, I am finally making the lightsaber tutorial for After Effects. I'm gonna keep this as short and as sweet as possible. For a disclaimer, I am gonna say not all of this is my own information. I've learned from other people that I will leave in the link below that I highly recommend that you go and watch. Specifically Praxis Visuals, he's literally taught me everything that I know about lightsaber work on After Effects. So please go check out his work. I will reference a bunch of it in all of the information that I give you. It's gonna give you a basis of what everything is and the steps you need to follow. And then kind of play around in After Effects and see what works best for you. Because in all honesty, the best way to get better at After Effects is to just experiment and play with the different settings that are in there. Because there's so much you can find. It's crazy. First, you want to import all of your footage. Make sure you've already gone through Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro or whatever editing software that you use and you've made your video to your liking. So once you've imported your footage, drag it to a new comp and it's gonna open up a new composition for you. From there, you're gonna go to Layer, you're gonna click New Solid and you're gonna make a white solid. This is basically how you're going to make the core of your saber. Once you've clicked white solid, then you're gonna go ahead and turn the little eye icon off. That way you are not blocking your actual footage and you can see where you're gonna be rotoscoping the entire saber. At this point, you're gonna start rotoscoping. So go and click your pen tool and start masking out the whole blade of the saber if this is what you're tracking.
This is the part where I start adding voiceovers because I forget to say some things in my recording clips sometimes. But from this point, you're basically taking the pen tool and you're just marking out where the saber is, and it's basically gonna be a rough sketch. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as the saber is outlined, that's all that matters. You can do as many to as little dots as you prefer, but I'm a tedious person, so I like to add a lot just so I can make sure it's fully outlined.
Now we're basically just gonna track all of our footage and go frame by frame. To do that, for Mac users, you're gonna use Command and then the arrow keys to move left and right to go from one frame to the next. Two other commands that are gonna be very helpful during this are V and H. V is basically going to be your cursor, and that's going to help you move points that you made with your pen tool. And the H is going to be the hand tool, and that's going to help you move your comp as you're working to make sure you can get every spot.
Before you start any frame tracking, I want you guys to make sure you click mask, go to mask 1 and click mask path. This is going to make a keyframe and is basically going to tell you where your saber is going to start and where it's going to stop. Then from here, start rotoscoping and map out everything frame by frame to make sure that you have your mask fully outlined. Depending on the length of your clip, it can take anywhere from like 15 minutes to maybe an hour, but take your time, don't rush, just practice.
Once you've completely mapped out your composition, it's very tedious, I understand, but it's just something that you have to do. Now you're going to go back up to layers. You're going to make a black solid and put that directly under your white solid.
Take the composition you just made and drag it into new comp.
At this point, there is a technique that you can use if you have a saber going behind you to mask out parts where it hits your head, or like movements where it comes in front of your body and then behind you and you can still see the mask. I'm gonna leave that to Praxis to teach you guys. This is just an intro of how to edit lightsabers. I advise you to do your research, listen to other visual effects artists because I'm still learning that technique myself. I don't have it mastered. It's just basic saber work that's in front of you. Then let's keep going. So you have everything mapped out and you've checked to see if the mask is following your saber in the correct direction. Make sure the white eye icon is turned back on, that way you can see where your saber is tracked. You're gonna go to Effects, you're gonna go to Blur and Sharpen and create a fast box blur. From there, click Command D and make about 5 different layers. Command D is basically just duplication, so that way you can have multiple layers in this comp. And that way it's not a whole solid white core. It's got some movement into it and it's gonna be blurred and it's gonna have a glow to it, which is gonna make it really realistic.
Okay, another moment where I explained it poorly in my video clips, so here we go. So before you even hit Command D, go to your original clip, so where it says core right here on my screen. Before I made any of these duplications, I went to Effects, Blur and Sharpen, Fast Box Blur, and then you're gonna make sure you have Repeat Edge Pixels clicked, and then you can go and make your duplications. That way, everything is already preset into each layer, and you just have to hit Command D about 4 times, so you have 5 layers total. When I filmed these screen recordings, I was having a bunch of difficulties with my presets, so none of it's gonna match up, but here's what you're gonna do next. You're gonna go to your very bottom layer, so layer number 5, and where it says iterations, change that to 2, and also change the blur radius to 2. The 5th layer is the only layer that you need to change the iterations to, and then for each layer, the rest of it can stay on 3. So for the blur radius for the remaining layers, for 4, do anywhere from like 50 to 55. The 3rd layer is gonna be anywhere from 90 to 100. The 2nd layer is around 150 or 155, and then the final layer is gonna be around like 275. This can also just be personal preference. Some people go all the way up to 300 on the final layer, some people do more, but mainly what you're looking for is each time you pull out your blur radius, you're looking for black rings to surround your core. And this way, when you add different effects such as gamma and exposure, it's going to reduce it a little bit, but make sure that's what you're looking for whenever you're adding to your blur radius. But again, it's personal preference. Every editor is different. Once you've completed all of your layers and you've gotten your blur radius to your preference, go to the bottom layer, so layer number 5, go to your opacity and change it anywhere from 60 to 70%. Sometimes I use 60 if I'm using my new lightsaber that I just got, and sometimes I use 70 if I'm using the PVC lightsaber, just because there is some wording on it that I have to blur out. Once you've done that, you're gonna repeat the same step from the beginning. Take this new composition with all of the layers inside of it and drag it into new comp.
All right, now that we've got our blur done, we're gonna go back and I wanna add a new effect, and we're gonna go to color balance, and this is how we're going to get the color of our saber.
This is the part where I advise you just to play around with all of the different midtones and highlights and different things like that, just because every color preference can be different. If you want it to be exactly like the movies, there are other tutorials out there that'll teach you this. For this one in particular, I was trying to make pink for one of my Kira episodes, so my settings are a little bit different, but just remember basic color theory and what colors will make like red or blue or light blue or dark green or things of that nature. This step is completely optional. You don't have to do this, but it's just an extra step to kind of enhance the saber. So basically what I did was go back into effects, color balance, and levels, and you can play with the RGB and the different color choices like red, blue, etc. And basically you'll change the input white and the gamma. So basically for my RGB, I set my input white to about anywhere from 260 to 275, and then I set my gamma to 0.75. If you've seen this clip on TikTok, you know that I had 3 different colors. So for this one in particular, I went back to blue in the drop-down key, and I did the same thing for input white. I put it to about 260 to 275, play with it, see what you like. And then for the gamma on this one, I bumped it up to about 1.5. For the final step in this process, we're going to make an expression, and this is basically gonna make our lightsaber pulsate. So drop down in effects, go back to color correction, and click exposure. To make an expression, all you do is hold down the Alt or Option key and click the little exposure timer. And at the bottom, you're gonna see where it says effect, exposure, and then the parentheses with the numbers. Go ahead and change where it says effect to wiggle. Then in the parentheses, all you want is 15,0.5. And this will set the exposure to pulsate every time your lightsaber appears in your video.
And that's it. That's how you make a saber in After Effects. It's a tedious process, but once you get the hang of it and you start practicing, it's really simple and it's really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave a comment below letting me know what kind of videos you do want to see in the future. If there's anything specific you want to see with Kira, or any Star Wars content in general. If you want to see more editing videos, just let me know. Thank you guys so much. I will see you in the next video. Bye.